Hi, after a summer break, the weather's turned a bit grey today, so I thought I'd take a look at a mic that I took on holiday with me, the Rode Stereo VideoMic Pro. I received this microphone just before I went away on holiday to Menorca, so I thought I'd take it out with me and give it a try. So I stuck it, would you believe this, on top of my GoPro and tried it out. It's got a high pass filter, it's got 20 dB gain and a minus 10 dB pad, and it runs on a 9-volt battery. Good, nice build, solid build, and I've put on it, as you can see, a dead cat because obviously out there it was going to be windy. Now the big thing about these kinds of microphones is how do you make the choice between mono and stereo? Basically, my advice would be if you want to capture just straight audio and try to push the surrounding sounds away, use a mono type of shotgun. But if you want surrounding sounds or ambience to be happening, this is a great choice because it really does widen the soundscape a lot. Okay, there's no doubt about it that using a microphone on the camera is really useful. So this is the microphone being used from about 3 foot indoors. Quite a few bits of reverberation going on in here, but this is your typical front room, and I haven't got the high pass filter switched in. I'm just going to switch it in now though. Okay, now I've got the high pass filter switched in just in case there's a lot of bass reverberation going on in here because this room has a lot of bare walls and everything. That's the sound of the stereo mic indoors. Going to one side, you can hear the stereo picture hopefully going on, and going to the other side, it gives you some idea of where I am on the screen through your ears, which is great. Okay, now I'm a lot further away. I'm about 7 feet, I reckon, away from the microphone. I've got this window behind me, so there are going to be reflections and things going on. But 7 feet away in a room with reverberation, no high pass filter switched in, and now I'm going to switch the filter in. Okay, now this is the same thing, about 7 feet away with the window behind me, except this time I've got the high pass filter switched in. So hopefully just a little bit less bass. Actually by ear I can hear reverberation going on, so I'm sure the microphone is picking it up. Just to test the left right, I'm now over on the left hand side of the picture. Hopefully you can't see too much rubbish in here, and I walk across and I'm walking across the other side, and there you go. Now if I now take a walk around the back of it, you might hear the sound change. So I'm just going to go around the back. So this is from the side, I'm now at the side, this is at 90 degrees to the microphone, and when I get to the back I'm now directly behind it. Now this is the danger spot where the microphone seems to go slightly lower and bassier, which is good because it's directional, but if you're vlogging, this can be a bit of a pain, especially if you move around while you're vlogging, because if you move around, if you're now listening on headphones, it probably sounds like I'm swinging from all over the place on a rope because it's changing sides. So basically, using a microphone that's stereo, you do have to be a little bit perhaps more careful than if you're using a mono mic. As you get closer, the sound basically perhaps becomes a bit clearer and less reverberant laden. So that's the sound of the microphone indoors. Okay, now I'm outside now with the traffic just behind to the left of the camera, or to my right, and I'm using stereo. Now in this mode, when it's being used in stereo, you're going to be picking up perhaps bird noises. There are some dog sounds over the back left there, a little bit of rumble, and there is also actually a little bit of wind going on here today as well, so it's quite windy. But this is the sound of the microphone when it's used in stereo. For this shot, nothing has been changed except that I've switched the microphone into mono. So we've got the same sound coming from the traffic, the bird sound. The dogs have stopped now, so that's a bit quieter, but there's a very noisy bird over this side. But now you're listening to the sound in mono, and if you switch this to mono, you're still going to capture the all-round sound. It's going to get crunched down into one track if you combine the two tracks together. Okay, now at this distance I'm about 3 feet away from the microphone, which is a pretty typical situation outside. This is the sound of the stereo microphone being used. Again, still we've got the traffic noise, the bird noise, whatever going on, but this is the sound of the microphone at close quarters. For this take, I'm now standing, I would say 15 feet, 10 to 15 feet away, much further away. So when I raise the sound of my voice, it's also going to raise the sound of the surrounding neighborhood here. So we're going to have more traffic and perhaps more bird song as well. But you can hear probably with a stereo microphone, you are going to pick up much more of the surrounding sounds in comparison to a mono shotgun that's going to be looking straight at you. So this is the sound of the microphone being used, I would say, about 15 feet away. In a pretty quiet area. I've got just distant traffic and not too much going on, but that's what you're going to pick up with this kind of microphone at a longer distance. Now for this shot, it's being taken again at a distance, but what I've done is I've switched the sound to mono. Now unlike a shotgun type of microphone, they will reject side sounds. Because this is stereo, the two microphones are still picking up the noise and it's all being pulled down into a mono sound. So my voice is not going to be particularly better than really using a mono. I think a mono would be better, just a single microphone, because it would reject more of the external sounds. So this is the sound of this microphone being used again at a distance of about 15 feet, but now brought down to mono. Now just to compare, what I've put on the camera now is the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus, and this is a mono shotgun and hopefully now is rejecting a little bit more of the outdoor sounds, and you can hear a bit more of my voice. I'm currently at a distance of about 4 feet from the camera, which is a pretty typical distance if you're vlogging. Now if I go further away, that's when it might actually show with the background sound. So now I'm again about 15 feet away from the microphone, and because of its rejection means I can turn up the sound to pick up more of my voice and hopefully not turn up too much of the background. And as I walk closer to the camera, you'll find that it's keeping track of me pretty well. So that's the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus, and it's got the same gain. It's set at 20 dB plus, except this one is mono and straight on me and rejects probably much better from the sides and the rear. This is the sound of the microphone in stereo from the rear. And now what I've found from past experience and using it over in Menorca is that the rear is actually down in volume and it's also slightly bassier. But what I have found, which can be disconcerting, is that one microphone can interfere with the other microphone depending on your distance and where you're standing. At the moment I'm directly behind the microphone, but if I now turn myself to go to this side, this is slightly to one side. That means that the left hand, I think, side of the microphone, or is it the right? I can never tell because I'm behind the camera. It means the sound will have changed, and now I've gone directly to the back again, and now I've gone to one side. Now the thing about being to one side is that if you are on the side, that's where really basically where you're going to be when you're vlogging. If I stand in a typical vlogging position, I'm holding the camera, I'm now standing to the side and to the left of the camera, which means that the microphone that picks up the left hand side is taking me basically almost from the side, and that really can affect the sound. But it also, if you have it set to stereo, it also means that you can get some, I think, phasing issues going on. But it's not quite the microphone for vlogging if you're going to stand behind it and chat. It's 12:30, and in about an hour or so this place will empty out for the afternoon, and then people will turn up again in the evening and it'll be really empty again. But it's a lovely city to come to. Of course, another advantage of a stereo microphone is it gives you good placement. They're not probably the best for dialogue, but if you sort of move from one side over here, so now I'm moving in the stereo pattern across to over here, hopefully if you're wearing headphones at least, you're going to be hearing some differences as to where the sound is coming from. And that's the beauty of a stereo microphone. It gives you more sense of the area and where the person on the screen is actually speaking from. Okay, so you've now heard it mostly outdoors and how it works out there. So here are a few of my conclusions that I've actually written down so I don't forget too much. First of all, it is lightweight, dead easy to use, and I even used it on a GoPro and it was fantastic. What you have to remember though is switch it on and switch it off, because it's not auto on off like the VideoMic Pro Plus. That goes on and off automatically, and if you get used to that, this is the kind of microphone that you could easily forget to switch off, or even worse, switch on and get no audio. It has slightly more treble and less bass than the VideoMic Pro Plus, which some might think is a better thing. It has, I think, a slightly more refined sound, and it's actually quite nice. It captures an awful lot of the surrounding sounds. If you look at that video section that I put in there of Menorca when I was in Ciutadella, I was talking behind the microphone and it was picking out more of the surrounding sounds than my voice, and I was right up against it when I took that shot. So you have to be careful of that. I think, personally, I think it's less effective from the rear. It is slightly directional to the front, a bit more. And when you get to the back of it, like so many microphones, it goes a little bit more bassy, and it's picking out everything from the front, left and right. And you're sort of bassy in the background there. So I wouldn't recommend vlogging from the rear. If you're in front of it, it's absolutely fine. I mean, it's great. But for ambience, for getting a wide stereo sound, if you're going to do wide views and things, it's absolutely fantastic. You must have that dead cat. It comes with a foamy, and the foamy fits very, very well. But you need a dead cat on that, especially when you're out in the wind. Being two cardioids, they are susceptible to wind. The foam keeps it off to an extent, but a dead cat is much, much better. I was using it in some very difficult conditions in Menorca, and it was actually absolutely fine. If you like my videos, please subscribe. I'm still needing some more viewers if possible, and I don't really enjoy talking too much to myself as I watch my video, but I'm not sure anyone else is. So if you like my videos, thumbs up, please subscribe, and I hope to see you for my next video, which is an exciting one, a tiny miniature mic. Cheers for now.